so take two.
Take two.
Alright, so you go ahead and start with the intro.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Stack. My name is Ray.
And I am Anthony.
And today we're going to talk about something deep rooted in our hearts. We're going to talk about why so many people are starting to run less and less option removal in each of their decks. So Anthony, what do you think that a lot less people are running option removal on their Digimon decks?
Gotcha. So this reminds me actually of a video that I saw before about like the case for option cards against Digimon effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the example was given Skull Greymon, right? When you hard play it, you can delete a blocker, right? And I believe he's like a 7 cost. And then you have this other, it's like Missile Bird or something like that.
Yeah.
It has like Skull Greymon's art on it, and it has the same effect, delete a blocker, and it's like 2 memory less, right? And the case was made, would you rather pay 2 extra memory and have a level 5 body on the field while deleting a blocker? Or would you rather just play that option card, pay the 5 memory, most likely pass your turn, and not have a body in play, right? So I think most people are feeling 2 things, right? One, they wanna make space in their deck dedicated to excelling their game plan, right? So it's like option cards they're like cluttering what I'm trying to do so that I can stop my opponent, but I want to do my plan for my deck. And the second part is just the value in removing by effect versus removing by option card, because there is removal, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of removal in some of the more prominent decks. Yellow with all its DP reduction shenanigans, Needhogmon, and purple with Chaos Gallant and Omnimon Swings. But to run dedicated option cards like Trump Sword, Gaia Force, Spiral Masquerade, not that you never see them, but you see them so much less often.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You definitely see option cards a lot less because they just take so much room, and at the end of the day, like just like you said, right? Would you rather have a body and remove something, or would you rather just remove something and pass your turn and not have a body, right? So there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages. So what do you think is the biggest advantage to running option cards as removal in specific decks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, we have, like you said, right, like purple already has like a lot of removal, but it also has like some of the best like removal cards too, right? Like yeah, like definitely Trump Sword is one of the better, it's like the second best removal card right next to Gaia Force, right? So we have Trump Sword, we have Hell's Gate, we have Heat Viper, amazing card, Darkness Claw, I think that it's called, that's the one. You have a lot of removal options, right? But not many people are running these cards because they're taking up space. So what do you think would be an advantage for someone to, let's say, like run Trump Sword, run Gaia Force more, run Absolute Blast, or Kaida's Breath?
Okay. You have me in the first half. So yeah, I think so there are a couple benefits that come to mind, and I know a lot of people don't like to lean on this, and I don't like to lean on this either when I'm building my deck, but it's nice to have something that you can hope for in your security that's gonna save you. Yeah. Right? Hope saves, right? Like, take for example, I mean, it's not removal, but remember when you were going against the Lord Nightmon / Mastamon player? Yeah. And Flower Cannon came out and suspended their board of like 7 Digimon, right? So, something like that, it's like, that changed the whole game. You were about to lose, you happened to win. I mean, it's RNG, you don't know what you're going to get in your security. You don't know what you're going to draw in your first hand. That's true. Right? So, and you have decks that are dedicated to like making sure their security is always going to be beefy. So I don't think it's far-fetched to say, let me run 1 or 2 cards, not only that are good to have in hand, but also helping my security. Yeah. And I think another case is just being able to like stomp out your opponent if they're getting like ahead of you,
Yeah.
right? To slow them down a little bit. And I think it works especially against like aggro decks that rely on like one Digimon for the most part, right? If you're going up against a red player and they're really focused in on getting that one big red Digimon and you remove it, right? You almost take the game after that if they're not able to rebuild, right? Or even some better removal cards like Spiral Masquerade that let you spread it out and remove the whole, like remove multiple Digimon at once for 4.
Insane.
Insane. So yeah, it's the benefit of having insecurity and slowing down your opponent if they're starting to catch up to you or go ahead of you.
Yeah. You mentioned something really important, which was one card that is useful in security and one card that is useful at hand, right? So, for example, one card that is useful in security and it's useful at hand would be like Gaia Force, right? You hit a Gaia Force in security, it has the same effect as if you had it at hand, right? Like Flower Cannon, the same thing. It's not per se removal, but it does essentially the same thing, just like a little better in security than it does at hand.
Combine it with Nidhoggmon and it is removal.
And it is removal, right? So it's Flower Cannon can for sure be like some sort of removal, or like at least like stop someone's game plan from advancing, just like you said, right? So what cards do you think that like are good options in hand and are good options in security, and what cards are not, right? Because we were talking before this, right? Like certain colors do removal a lot better, right? Some of those colors are definitely yellow does removal insanely good, right? So what do you think are some good cards to have that like must run and like for removal in any like in color decks?
Gotcha. I think Spiral Masquerade, just to start off. I've seen a lot of Lord Nightmon decks not run Spiral Masquerade. They don't make the space for it. Here's the thing: if I know a Lord Nightmon deck does not have Spiral Masquerade, I'm not scared of anything in their security, because Blinding Ray doesn't give memory. Their highest DP Digimon is Valder Arm, and that's it. If I could get past Valder Arm, I could swing into security safely. But I played a deck with Spiral Masquerade. I had a Digimon that was 16,000 DP swinging into security. Spiral Masquerade, they had, I think, 4 Digimon on the board at the time. Brought it all the way down to like 4,000.
Get right.
And I was like, all I need to hit is the right level 4. And I'm dead. Because I had 2 checks. The first one was Spiral Masquerade. The next one, thankfully, was a rookie. But that still, like, could have set me way back. And mind you, it also stopped my play because I was going to, like, blitz and swing again. But I would have, I couldn't keep going because I'd be risking losing my Digimon at that point. So, Spiral Masquerade, right off the bat, good in hand, good in security, depending on your board state, right? If your board state is not fire, which isn't really hard for yellow, but if it's not good when you need it, then it doesn't do much.
Okay. Do you think that, like, Trump Sword is good in hand and in, or actually, I'll do a better one. Absolute Blast.
Absolute Blast?
Yeah.
I think Absolute Blast is good, better in hand than in security. Because Absolute Blast is, if you know you have Absolute Blast, and, you know, you could work to try to make it happen, right? Because thankfully, it's a double-edged sword. You have the one part where it's, you know, bouncing opponents' Digimon to the bottom of the deck, but they have to have no sources, right? However, it does remove at least one source from a Digimon before that second effect resolves to bounce it to the bottom. So if you have it in hand, you could try to play around it, try to like work hard to remove your opponent's Digimon. But in security, right, if you're a smart player playing against Hexblow, you're going to build up in your raising and then go into security. And if you're building up in your raising, you take out one source and that's pretty much it. That big Digimon is still in place, still doing its checks. Funny enough though, Kakaida's Breath, I think is better in security than in your hand, right? Because, you know, do you want to pay 7 memory to put a Digimon back to hand that they could potentially bring right back out? Or would you rather your opponent swing into security, it comes out and it stops like a lot of what they're doing, right? If it's a Digimon going for multiple checks, stops those checks, or maybe, you know, you bounce back another Digimon that could swing for game or something like that. So yeah, and going back to Trump Sword is like, it's really 50-50 for me. I think Trump Sword is really good in retaliation-based decks because the way that you play around Trump Sword is by keeping your Digimon suspended so that it can't be Trump Sworded. But if you're playing a deck with retaliation, then all you need is like a Devimon or a Xiaomon with 10 in your trash, and then it's like, oh man, do I get kamikazed by this one Digimon or do I get Trump Sworded? So you got to pick and choose. I think in security, it could be hit or miss.
Yeah.
Because that's something you can play around too. You swing with your big Digimon first, so that if a Trump Sword is in security, you can only remove one of the smaller Digimon that are next to it. Sometimes it comes in clutch against unsuspending decks like Imperial Dramon or BT1 Omnimon.
Yeah.
When that comes out. So it's a roll of the dice with Trump Sword for me. I think
sure.
it's very in the middle.
Yeah, I think that we both agree that purple's removal is very in the middle. In terms of like option cards, is very in the middle because it's limited to like level removal, and then you also have to like a lot of times you have to risk removing your own thing to remove one of theirs, right? So it's like a 1-for-1. And I totally agree with you. Absolute Blast is definitely better at hand than it would be in security. Some would say that Absolute Blast is an absolute failure in security. But you heard it here first, folks. But yeah, you guys have it right there. We totally think that. Pause.
Wait, there's one more thing.
There's one more thing.
We got to talk about what colors, right?
Does better
at removal.
Removal.
What colors don't?
What colors don't?
So. Do you want to? I feel like I've been talking about.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll start off. I think that definitely, some colors do it better than others. Yellow is the king at removal because not only do you advance your board state with it, you also can remove like later on, right? Like with options like Spiral Masquerade, right? So Lord Nightmon brings a bunch of Digimon that can reduce your DP to like Oblivion, and then with Spiral Masquerade you just have that finishing touch, or even with Starmon does that finishing touch. So definitely yellow is top there and with removal. Other than that, deck that does removal really well that is very underrated, and we were talking about it earlier, was Shoutmon, right? Shoutmon does removal well when it comes to like I think that it says that you remove one Digimon with 5,000 DP or less for each one of the
Omni Shoutmons or Z Greymons
that it has under. So if you are playing the deck right and you have like 3 of them under, right, you can remove 3 Digimon with 5,000 DP or less, and then you can swing at one Digimon that has that is even unsuspended and
with Z Grey's effect,
Z Grey's effect, yeah, definitely. One that does removal in a very different way is green. Green is very controlling, right? So we're in a meta where like again like that's another reason why we're seeing less and less removal options, right? Because your decks do control, right? So yellow has control as it builds its game plan. Green has control as it moves its game plan. Blue with Hexablau has control as it moves forward with its game plan, right? But green's removal is a little different, right? Like a lot of times it's suspend and swing a Digimon, right? But Nidhogg is the king of board wipes at the moment.
Absolutely.
There is nothing like suspending your opponent's Digimon and then Nidhogging their board. That is absolute king right now. But it also takes a lot of setup. So I would say that green would be probably second there with removal. If not second, third, or tied second with purple, because purple has a lot of removal as well, right? So why don't you go on ahead and finish us off with red, blue, and black?
Red, blue, and black. So yeah, red is definitely above blue and black, right? We already talked about Shoutmon DX's ability to remove. You have Gaia Force. You have underrated card in War Greymon, BT5 War Greymon, who I believe is underrated in being able to remove a blocker, right? And then swing in, right? Because you know, with red, if you don't have piercing, blockers are stopping you, right? So just being able to remove anything that's in your way and then continue with your game plan is very valuable. So yeah, red definitely above blue and black. Blue I'll put above black because it's funny too because blue has weird removal options like I'll drag you into the depths.
Yeah.
Kakaida's Breath, Full Moon Blaster, Aqua Viper, right? Mm-hmm. They still have more like variety of ways to remove, but I think blue's priority is control over anything. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about hard removal, I think black and blue are like identical. And in terms of removal, not in terms of like overall control and power, but black, man. I mean, what is removal for black? If you're talking about getting rid of the Digimon altogether, right? If that's how you define removal in an option card, you have Ultimate Flare, right? Which only removes 3-cost Digimon after choosing one Digimon to de-digivolve 3 times, which is very situational. And other than that, I think you have Dark Side Attack, right? Which removes 7-cost Digimon or lower. Other than that, you have Infinity Cannon, which isn't really removal. It's more, I guess, like control, but like at what cost? Yeah, setback. Like pushing your opponent's game state back, but at what cost, man? Like 8 costs, I'll tell you.
That's the cost.
Right? So yeah, black just has it really hard, and it's like you told me before with black, because I was like trying so hard to figure out what to do about removal. And, the thing about black is that it's not so much about removing your opponent's Digimon, but removing their opportunity to get through your defenses, which is still pretty hard with the way they control your board and remove your Digimon. But, yeah, black just has it tough. Yeah. Has it real hard.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. Thank you guys for watching so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Do you agree with us? Do you think that too many decks are either seeing option cards less and less? What about your deck? Does your deck run a lot of options? Does it not? Are you a security control player?
Then that's all they're doing. I was also one more thing, just to drop in the comments, like what do you think are some removal cards or like removal types that are like slept on, Comment below and let us know.
Don't forget to ring the bell, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.